What up, man? Welcome to Sunday night live session. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna just keep it open, not do anything too major. We do have some topics we want to discuss, but first off, I want to just check on you. How's everything going, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Our life is good. I can't complain.
Yes,
Um,
sir. Like we were just talking about briefly. I done welcomed a new family member into the world. You know what I'm saying? My
yeah,
grandson, my first grandson. So that's
that's fire.
it's wild, bro. It's
That's
wild. But
fire.
you know what I'm saying? Just looking at life in general, I was just telling my wife, I was like, man, think about, we put our DNA together to create something, and now our daughter has
Yeah,
taken and partnered her DNA
yeah,
with her husband and created a new, a new version, right?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? A
yeah.
new extension of the family. Um, so that's pretty dope, man. I can't lie, man. It's a good feeling. So it's scary and nervous at the same time.
What's scary about it?
I ain't never been a grandfather, right? This is a new chapter in my life. Um, it's one of those things where I didn't grow up with mine. My paternal grandparents were gone before I was born.
Right.
My maternal grandfather died when I was like 11, right? So
Okay.
all I saw him was just he was a mean motherfucker, right?
Yeah,
Which
I
I don't
get it.
want to be, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Old school brother from the south. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I can imagine the shit he went through. My grandfather died when, like I said, when I was 11, um, which was like 87, and he was a good, ooh, I don't know, he was an older man, right? So he had been through some shit, so I can justify and understand his anger, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just from just from life in general.
yeah,
So, couple topics that we had to talk about. Um, Dating across cultures. Obviously that's one that is uh, I'm gonna say obviously very interesting to me and very near and dear to me. And also, it affects a lot of people today. And then we, of course, can touch on some different parts of dating with children. Somebody with
yeah,
children, right? Which where
yeah.
you want to start at, bro? Because I'm open on either end.
Well, I really think we may not even have enough time to even because once we start on one, I think because the
Okay,
the dating across cultures, that's a whole world within itself.
let's start on that one then.
Let's go there. Um, I think it's important to start off with our own individual ideologies as on what dating across cultures mean. I think for most people, they immediately go to the racial version of it, right?
Right,
But when you say for me when you say dating across cultures, I mean essentially that's anything that's outside of what you are used to, right? Because we all really date across cultures. But even when you say you can, like, if I date someone who is of a similar hue, that doesn't mean our culture is the same. Like they can be
right,
from the Caribbean, Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? And so the aesthetic of it looks like I'm not dating. So it's not. So I guess what I'm saying is a different. It's a difference between dating interracially
right.
versus interculturally, so to speak. So what where you stand at on that?
So to me, dating across cultures includes race, religion, age, um, upbringing, right? Because to me, just because we look alike, don't mean we are alike, right? So let's say there's two people of a similar hue. I love the way you do that. So I try to use that where I can in place of black people or white people,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
if I meet a person and they're Muslim, that's a different culture, right?
Right, right.
Right.
That's
If
what
I
I'm.
meet
Yeah,
somebody, I'm 48. I'm not in the market, but let's say I meet somebody, and I date somebody that's 25 for some crazy ass reason. That's a different culture, right?
yeah,
So to
for
me,
sure.
culture is not just race based. Obviously,
Yeah,
that's a difference, right?
right,
Because we
right,
can be
right.
same religion, same age range, same financial background, same everything, yet still, that racial component plays a part. So all of
Yeah.
those
Oh,
things, I think we're
for sure.
we're in
And
agreement.
trauma too, though. You know what I mean? Like you can have a person that was raised in a healthy home, and they're dating a person that comes from a trauma based background, and they have two entirely different cultures just based on that component alone.
That's interesting you say that because a buddy of mine were talking about a person that we knew who went through an essay, right? I'm gonna try to YouTube be mad if we use the actual, what I'm saying, phrases,
Yeah,
but
yeah, for sure.
and we had a conversation, and I said, listen, this is my perspective, and then we can delve into the details a little more. I said, if I'm with somebody and they have that experience, I'm with them throughout, right? It's something that I've signed up for better or worse. If I met somebody and they were super traumatized from an SA event, I'm not sure I would date them because there's a lot that goes with that,
Yeah.
right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of, in this particular person we were talking about, she was, sex for her was very difficult because of what happened. And it is not, I want to clarify, I'm not victim blaming, but we all choose the situations to which we go into when we're
Mhm.
dating someone.
Yeah.
And then, so we were like, man, like if I'm with somebody and something happens, I'm riding it out. That's what I signed up for. But starting, depending on the level of trauma, for me, I couldn't do it. So from a cultural standpoint, where it's different cultures that you talk about trauma, that's one that's a hard no for me.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe we should talk about the hard nose before we get into the nits and the nitty gritty of all of that. Like there are some
Yeah.
from a cultural perspective, there are hard no's for me, right? Um, Obviously, I'm not in the dating market, but I wouldn't date. This is just me, right?
Mhm.
I don't find myself attracted to Chinese women, right? It's just not something I don't try not to do it, right? And I spent a lot of time in China, and I'm just like this. Like I'm great. This is great. I ain't got no, what I'm saying, no, what you want to look for, no concerns about anything, right? Like, and I'm trying to word it properly, um, but there's no risk of anything. Not saying I was gonna act up anyway, but like this is just like being around a bunch of homies. I'm cool and kicking it. Just there's for me and I think it's body type, right? Because I've always been attracted to a more voluptuous woman, right? So I
Mhm.
think body type for me is huge on that. And I spent a lot of time
Okay.
over there, and it's just not my thing, right? Does that mean I would never ever date somebody Chinese? No, that doesn't mean that. It just mean it's a high probability just based on the physical characteristics. They're very very tiny, bro. Like you know what I'm saying? Like they're
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I went to a lingerie store, bro, and I felt like I was in a weird setup because I'm like, this is everything's kid size.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
But
So
that's across their culture though. They're
right,
smaller
and
people.
that's a beautiful thing. I'm not mad at it, right? Just for
Yeah.
me, that's not my preference. Trying to think if there are any other hard no's. I would say somebody who was uh, I would go a super heavy religious person, right? Because I'm not. That's a battle I can't have. And then also somebody on the exact opposite of the political spectrum, right? For me, not
Hmm.
that and here's why, because where I'm at politically, and I want to jump into it, is based on my beliefs of decency, right? So if you're on the other side of the spectrum, we have a disagreement on what's a decent person from not necessarily a decent person, but what we look at is what our values are. And for me,
Okay.
that's starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
But I'll turn it over to you because I'm talking too much.
No, no, it's all good. So I think I want to break my explanation into like two parts. So I'll start with what my my like my preferences,
Okay.
in terms of dating. Like now see I find every type of woman attractive, you know, physically.
Okay.
However, there is a component like when we talk about dating, we're saying in terms of hopefully or ideally there'll be a future with that person,
Right.
right? Okay, so if that's the case for me, um, then I would prefer it has to be a person that is has some is somewhat of a similar hue, right? So I would prefer someone who is if you're not, let's say for sake of the conversation, what we call black. I would rather you can be mixed with black, any race. You know what I mean? And
But you
the
gotta have
reason
some in you.
and the reason is because I have to buy into the idea that you are going to be able to relate to me on the level that I prefer, that I feel like I need in a relationship, and that's it's experience,
Okay.
right? I don't want to ever have to help a person understand me in that way, and I don't want a person. I don't want to be a person to. I don't want to deal with a person that has to have sympathy for me. I would rather empathy. And if you don't share any experiences or similar experiences, then it would likely be sympathy. So I'll stop
Okay.
there, right? Now, the other side of that is my hard nose is anybody that puts any construct before uh, their humanity. meaning that you prioritize that over our relationship in a sense.
Give,
So,
give me an example.
so
What
a
you mean?
person that it matters to you what my religion is or what our religions are, or it matters to you where we are politically, because I feel like what we're humans before any of that.
True
So
that.
I can give you the spaces, like whatever you want to believe in, whatever you want to practice, as long as it doesn't conflict with, us, our unit. You know what I mean? Because we have to agree somewhere. We have to agree that we have to draw lines. So I'm okay with whatever your belief system is. I'm okay with whatever your political position is. I want you to have your own mind, but
Right,
I
right,
want you to understand that's your personal position. When we talk about what we are doing, then we have to find a common ground, and I think the only common ground is that we prioritize us over everything else. Because I don't want you to believe. I would never want someone to convert to whatever I believe in, just because that's my position. You want us to the aesthetic of it.
right,
I hope that you believe in it yourself. Now, if you choose to align yourself with me in those ways, fine, and vice versa. I could do it with you, but that doesn't come before what we are building, because when we have children, we want them to have their own minds, right? We want to guide them and instruct them,
right,
and we want to expose them to different things. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you saying I'm gonna teach you about my belief system, right?
right,
But give them the space to, number one, not partake at all if they don't want it, if they don't want to, and go find their own way. You know what I'm saying? So
okay.
that's why I believe it. For me, the hard nose or anything that comes before, if you prioritize those things before our what we are building as a unit.
So how do you again? I'm looking at this from a perspective of I'm getting to know somebody, right? I'm about to date somebody. We have a total different belief. Let's just say religion, right? Let's say we have a total different belief. I'm looking at headbutt, right? There's that's one of those things that I think. Obviously, I don't want to change your mind, and that's why I said if you're too different, if you're different from me on specific things, I would avoid it because I don't want to change you. But if we have a family, we've got to instill some kind of value, right? An agreed upon value of whatever that scenario is. But if we're on different ends of the spectrum, what do we give the kid? And what I mean by that, before at a certain point they get to make a choice,
Yeah,
but we can't raise you without a choice because you're as a little we got to instill. Obviously, we still the basic decency, human values in you.
that's what I'm talking about.
But if I'm of Muslim faith and she's of Christianity, right? We ain't gonna line up, right? Because you're doing what you're doing on Sunday, and I'm doing what I'm doing on Sunday or whatever day they go, right? I'm just using those two as an example. How do you handle that difference?
Like I said, I think that is when you have to agree, so we have to find commonality, and we both have to agree that it's a belief system. We don't know what's on the other side of that.
Right,
So I have to give you the space. I'm not going to like it's even if we don't have any children. Like when you choose to go worship, when you want to worship, then that is taking time away from us. But that's fine. I grant you that space because that's part of who you were prior to me, right?
right,
The problem is if you want me to partake in it, if that's a requirement, and vice versa. Like
right,
allow me the space that's now. I'm okay with saying, hey, as partners, can we experience each other's cultures? I mean, just for the sake of the experience together, so you can understand me in a way, right?
right, right, right,
But and if I choose to convert, or you choose to convert, or we choose to align, fine. However, it's what I'm saying is that our children would just understand that, hey, this is my belief system. This is why it's my belief system. This is what it's about, right? But the core values of them, we should like we're it's about being a decent human.
hmm
You can be a decent human without a belief system.
hundred
That's
percent. You
facts,
should you
right?
should naturally be decent, right?
Right.
I just look at it as my definition of of decent is probably don't of acceptable. Let me do that, right? There's certain things that I deem as acceptable, and I know other people do not, right? And that's something that we have to decide what our children are going to believe is acceptable or not, at least until they're old enough to make their own decision. So so I like the fact that we differ on that, right? Because it's not the same, and that's cool. Um, Looking down the road, right? Again, I'm looking at the big picture. I'm going to bring two people together, create a union, by law or just in general. Families come together. Now, I'm probably different on that one. To me, when you get together, it don't matter what the family think, right? That's just how I am. When I got married, I'm like, I'm gonna fuck with my family, like it or not. I'm gonna fuck with your family, like it or not. We're joining families, but we're
So what's
creating
this?
our own.
Right. So it's the same. See that mindset, what you're saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, but that works, that has to be the case across the board. So we don't put anything before us. So even if my belief system, if it's like, if I put my belief system before us, I allow a person the space to practice and worship because I want you to be okay for the family, right? I allow you the
Right, right.
space to do that. But if it comes down to our family, something that we're doing for us, that cannot be the priority because that's going to be the problem. That means that you trust that before you trust me. And if you that means you don't need me. And if you don't need me,
Okay,
then
I can
that's
roll with that.
fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right, you're not the right
But
one for me.
because me, I'm gonna prioritize you over my family, over my belief system, over all that because I need you. You come before that because I know that if I'm sick, I know that my belief system is not going to care for me the way you are.
Right,
I know my family is not.
I
I
got to
know
roll
that.
with that.
So it's secondary because the reality we live in a reality here. That don't
Right, I got
mean
to
that
roll
don't
with that.
that's
Yeah,
not disrespectful to our belief system. Like because we
no,
know on the up because I don't we're not go we may not see each other after this ride. You know what I mean? So
right,
I'm
right.
okay with us having something to hold on to just in case. I mean we don't know,
I can
but
fuck with that. No,
shit.
I can fuck with that. I like the way you put that because honestly, um, I'm saying what I have to have, but I already have somebody who has the same belief system, so I'm not speaking from a point of experience, right? I'll be the first to
Yeah.
admit it, right? We
You know
just
what I
happen to.
believe though?
What's that?
I believe that based on what I know about your life and the sacrifices y'all made for each other and where y'all at right now, I believe that everything outside of happenstance, if you took a different route in terms of your beliefs, she would go with you.
Hundred
And you
percent.
and you know why? Because she trusts you in a
She
way that
trusts me to
knows
lead.
that you're not just doing it impulsively. It's a
Right,
reason why. You know what I mean? And vice
right.
versa. You know what I mean?
Hundred
I know
percent,
you I
bro.
know you respect her enough to hear her out in terms of what her concerns are because that's valid. Tell me your concerns and then I'm going to acknowledge those concerns. I'm going to validate them, but I'm asking you once just to trust me.
You know what? That's and I don't want to deviate because we're talking culture, but that is very interesting because that's one of the discussions I had with her when we start talking about starting a business and quitting a 6-figure job. Right? I'm like, trust me. I'm asking you to trust me, right? And she trusts me, but she asks questions. Okay, what's the big picture? What's the plan? How do you want to do it? I'm going to support you, but you have to make me comfortable in understanding what your goal is and how we are going to get there, right?
Yeah.
Because she said, I'm gonna put in as much work as you allow me to put in.
Yeah.
Um, how do we get there? And we talked about it. We laid it out. I'm like, hey, worst case scenario, here's the fallback plan. Once she was comfortable with it, she said, listen, I trust you. You've taken care of us. You've done right by us. I'm with you 100%, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna put in a bunch of effort and make it work. And that's one thing I think is interesting because we want to lead, but if I went to my girl right now, I'm like, listen, fuck this shit that I'm doing. I'm about to be a rapper. She ain't following that. Right? It's got to be reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I
Yeah.
spent years in the game and I had some opportunities, some paths, that's different. For me, just like, you know what? I heard that new Kendrick Lamar diss and that Drake diss. I'm finna get in the game and tear all these
Yeah,
motherfuckers up.
right. But
Right?
she would know something that's not you.
Right.
You
That's
have
not
you
me.
you
She
don't
can't
move
roll with
like
that.
that, right?
Right.
And
Like
you
we need
wouldn't
to get you
even do
checked
that.
out. We need to get you
Yeah,
checked out.
you gonna come you gonna come with some hard evidence as to
Absolutely.
why this is gonna work. You
Yep.
you've likely already kind of tried your hand at it a little bit to avoid being disruptive for your family. But I
Right.
tried it over here. I went and did the research. I went and did the work. Now I'm
Yep.
just asking y'all to jump on board. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I just think that's what I mean. So dating across cultures, once again, I think that's where the problem comes in because when you mix cultures, I think the decision it should be that we are priority. You know what I'm saying? Like we are
Right.
priority even because we're creating our own culture. You know, um, I think that we just we just a lot of times we make each other comfortable by adapting to being so adaptive to others cultures, right? And we really don't, that's really not who we are. And it shows up down the line, especially
Hundred
once you
percent.
once you have children or whatnot. You will start to see, okay, this really wasn't going to work because we believe we didn't understand that prior to us merging our culture that we were our culture that we were creating our own culture. You
Right.
know
I
what I'm
think.
saying? But you
I,
did that, right?
yeah. Absolutely. So we had those conversations. But I was young, bro. But we had those conversations early on. I'm like, listen, especially knowing we're coming from different racial backgrounds. whichever one of our family members don't like the family unit, they don't fuck with us, right? But I want to make sure, and I wanted to make sure early on that we agreed on that, right? Because if you don't agree with me, that's a problem we can't overcome, right? To me, anybody that's a threat to the family is excommunicated from the family, right?
Hmm.
We don't consider you. Um, I'll respect your relationship from a family tree standpoint, but we don't fuck with you,
Yeah.
right? I so it was a them or me scenario with my wife, but it was also a her or them scenario for me,
Yeah.
right? Like if you don't fuck with her, you don't I don't fuck with you. It don't matter if we had the same mama, daddy, it don't matter, right?
Right.
Because when I put my name on her, I took a different role, right? That's
Yeah.
why I tell people I said, when you
Yeah.
create somebody, I created my wife by asking her to marry me and
Yeah.
putting my name and my and my family uh tree upon her, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
that's the same thing I
interesting.
told my son-in-law. I said, listen, you it was crazy. I told him, I said, you now when they say dad in the house, you got to turn around. That's you now, right? You are taking that responsibility. I'm passing on my fatherly role, right? To you to take care of my daughter and
Yeah,
your
because you
son.
grandpa now.
I'm right. Hey, I'm grandpa now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um and I told him, right, because he's of a different hue than I am. You know what I'm saying? Same hue as my wife. We'll go with hue. Um so that's another dynamic, right? That different cultures in various aspects, but they're in the same age range, which is beautiful because that means he was I think I'm blessed to have him as a son-in-law because um he was raised around Mexicans, right? Like most of his friends and things like that were Mexicans that he was he was brought around people of different cultures already. It
Yeah.
wasn't everybody the same. But the cultures is serious because um, it's shout out to the homie Garland for throwing the congrats at me. Thank you, sir. That's an amazing fucking feeling to be a grandfather.
100. 100.
Um, but as we look at the cultures, there's so much that is different. And as a person who married interracially, people kind of get weirded out when I tell them, I'm like, if you're 35 or older, it's too late. I wouldn't do interracial. That's me personally, right? Um,
Okay.
and here's why. If you meet somebody who has been however they've been for 35 years, sort of a different race, they're not, chances are they're not going to give up their parents for you. They're not going to give up their uncles and aunts, their cousins, if there is a racial issue, right? Because that's what they've known their whole life. I was blessed. We got together young enough that my wife knew her family for 15 years, right? Because that's how old we were.
Yeah.
Um, but I look at it as you get old and older and you form your ways, especially as your parents start to age. I don't think people have that capability of saying, "I'm going to take this person I just met and put them potentially because you're not marrying that person you just met. You just started dating,
Yeah.
right? I think it's too many obstacles. Personally, I wouldn't. I recommend against it. I think it's too much work at an older age. You don't have there's too much involved already. Right? The foundation is set. When you're a kid, you're still impressionable, you're still moldable. Um, you still can adapt. Not a lot of my life has changed from a belief system standpoint after 30 years old, right? Like, especially as a man. Like I'm kind of set in my path and my ways. It takes a major act for that to change. But let me get your input on it.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree because when I think about dating, obviously the intent is subjective, but I'm saying just that it's the basic dating concept. You know, I can date anybody. You know, what I mean, like when you just talk about the racial component, right? I can date anybody because it's an experience.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? But when you talk about the long term, then you have to be more realistic, and examine, what that looks like, what the landscape looks like based on their culture or whatnot. So that's what I'm saying. I find all women attractive. And if I'm, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, then, me dating someone, then I don't have to consider race really, right?
right,
I don't have to consider that because that's not, we only saying that because it's, that's typically an extension or a representation of your culture one way or another,
right,
typically. But when you get to it, when you start thinking about your life, then you consider it differently. And that's why we see, I know a lot so-called white boys that that mess with so-called black girls in their younger years, but they have no intention on making a family with them, and that's most likely due to the creed of their family. You know, the diet, and that I've seen it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be spoken, but it's a reality.
I mean, it's a reality
And to a
across.
certain extent, right? I like, I get it. I
I
get it
understand that,
depending on
right?
what your culture is. You know what I'm saying? And what y'all want for y'all legacy, right? Whatever. So I'm because I have my reasons why I think like that. Now it's not. It may be for different reasons, but for me, it's the level of empathy and relatability that
Right.
I have to buy into. I'm not saying a person of a different race cannot relate to me on that level. I'm saying I'm probably not going to be able to buy into it.
Right. No,
You know,
I think depending on their race and their experiences, you 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 cannot buy into it. Right. There's certain things that you cannot understand if you're not, we'll say, so-called black. Right. There's experiences you will not have.
in
Right.
America anyway.
In
You know what I'm
America, right?
saying?
You step
Yeah,
outside America, the whole goddamn thing is different. But
yeah.
to a comment that popped up, um, Lexi said, Alexis said, she's a mixed race, right? It's a chick we know. She's cool as hell.
Okay.
So for her, no matter what happens, if she becomes single later, she's dating whatever she wants to date because she's got multiple races. She's black and I think it's
Mhm.
Mexican. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So in that aspect, I guess I understand from that perspective. My kids are biracial, right? So it'd be hard to say you can or can't date someone. Like my brother asked me when my daughter first started dating her now husband, and does it bother you she dating a white dude? I'm like, bro, I'm married to a white lady, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Like
But
how
it
would
would
it?
that would be different for me though.
Right, but for me, I'm like, how do I look at somebody and say I got a problem with what you did, which is exactly what I
Nah,
did?
yeah, but you know what? In that realm, like for people that's biracial, it's easy,
Mhm,
right? Like
mhm.
it's not going to be brought into question.
I just it's normalcy, right? She's
Mm.
around both black and white people at all times, right? So
I'm just
you
saying by default though, even society's not going to question it if you are
right,
already of mixed race. It's not
right,
going to be like it's not really taboo anymore anyway. But I'm saying that there's no room to question it because you're already by
right.
default mixed race. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
So
Yeah.
you
So,
know.
um, but let's touch on that, right? And what I mean by that is with the at least so-called black, so-called white. I've been with my wife for 30 plus
Hold
years.
on a second. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yep.
Now I'm reading her comment, Lexi's comment. So she's saying she's going to date interracially, like on purpose, so that
I
person
mean,
won't.
she has to date. It has to be interracial for her, unless she finds somebody mixed with the exact same
Oh,
stuff,
okay. I misread the
right?
comment. I
No,
thought
it's
she
all
was
good.
saying
That's
it,
how
it
I
has
took
to
it.
it has to be another mixed person, is what I'm
No,
saying.
no, I took it as she's dating interracial because she's
Yeah, that
interracial,
makes
right?
sense. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Um,
Yeah.
but there are differences, right? And there's aspects where there's things that are different for me. Prime example, right? We're on our way to Nashville one time. We ride. I'm tired. I'm like, man, you drive, right? You gotta handle the next 45 minutes. I just need a few minutes, right? I pass out. I wake up. We're on the back roads of Tennessee. That's unacceptable to me, right? Not without waking me up at least. Now, in her opinion, and I understood her perspective, she's doing nothing wrong, right? But we got off the highway due to a detour. I'm in the backwoods of Tennessee with a white woman driving. I need to be awake and aware of everything that's going on around me, right? Um, so that was one of the things where I'm like, man, just being 100% honest. If I'm in a car with black folks, black woman, whatever, we go, hey man, listen, we in these backwoods of Tennessee. Let's keep, let's be on the, let's be aware of the surroundings, right? Because that's my job to be aware of the surroundings as the man. So that was one of the things where, you know, it was never ever discussed, and that falls on me to say, hey, listen, if we ever off the main situation in these southern states, I need to be fully functional. Normally, I'm 99.9% of the time I'm driving, so that's not an issue. But this one time that I wasn't, and I got upset, bro. I'm gonna keep it real, and I apologize later, um, because that's something I never prepared her for, right? And that's on me. But I know, like, if I'm with my brothers or I'm with my guys and we ride, and I don't care who's sleeping, we get off in the Louisiana, Tennessee, you know what I'm saying, Kentucky, anywhere, and we
Yeah.
on some back roads. Hey, everybody got to get up. Keep your eyes peeled, right? Because this is the world we live in. So that was one thing that I would say is different. On the flip side, this is, I don't know, you take it as good or bad. I come home and I deal with the racism of the world and the racial biases and the injustices all day long when I leave my house. it's I didn't realize it, but I never have to hear that from her, right? That's a pain I don't have to walk somebody through because I know what that shit feel like. Um, so I look at it on two different sides of that, right? I'm not saying it's better or worse, but I'm just saying that's something that, like, I know how I am as a protector. I would probably flip the fuck out if something racially happened with my wife, right? Assuming I was married to a black woman at the time or dating a black woman and some fuck shit happened, I'm probably gonna do something stupid because I know how it makes me feel. So
Mm.
I don't know. I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'm gonna turn it back over to you and let you roll with it. But I don't know. There's definitely differences I think that have to be thought about from a cultural
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah, that's I think that's just my position on it. It's like I don't think it's a problem dating across cultures as long as two people have the right mindset. And I think that mindset is essentially it's us against the world.
Hundred
You
percent.
know, we have to be willing to abort a lot of what we are accustomed to. We can't even put culture above us because that's the agreement that we're making. That's the unspoken agreement that we're making. Otherwise, why are we doing this? To make each other, we'll be making each other's lives more difficult, and that's the opposite of what the point
Right.
is. So I think that's my position on that. Um, and I don't know if it's an opportunity to pivot.
Yeah. Let's pivot.
Um, and we were getting ready to go on like the dating with children, right?
Yes, sir.
But I thought about what we had kind of discussed earlier on your page, and I'm like, this is something I'm interested
I
in
don't know if
talking
YouTube gonna let us
about.
do that though. I don't know if YouTube gonna let us do that.
If
You know what I'm
if
saying?
we know how to have it, if we know how to have the
Um,
conversation,
man,
and
that's
it,
a whole. That needs a whole. That's a whole
okay,
show.
all right,
That's a whole show because yeah,
because
that's definitely.
we I don't think we wasn't gonna be inappropriate with it. Why
Well,
would
let's
YouTube let
roll
us
with it
have
then.
it, right? Now I'm just now I agree that it could be a
I,
whole show
I think it needs to
by
be a
itself.
whole episode,
Yeah,
right?
I'm just saying, but
And
I
for
think that we
those that don't know the conversation, it was around transgender stuff, right? That's a whole conversation. I
but
think we
it was a perspective of it. It was the
right,
name identity.
right. The
You
identity,
know,
the right. So
yeah,
let's
yeah.
do that
So
on Wednesday night.
okay,
All right.
yeah,
So
that's
Wednesday
cool.
night
That's cool.
we're gonna start off with that one.
Yeah,
But hold on because we talking about different cultures and we're talking about uh uh dating with children.
yeah, yeah.
This
They
this is one I kind of skipped over the hard no. I could not. I'm already skeptical. All right, because my situation is my situation. I'm already skeptical dating somebody with children, but I could not date somebody with children that didn't look like they could be mine. Right? Like
yeah, no,
if I dated a
if you
Latina and she had Mexican kids, I couldn't do it. If I dated a white chick and she had white kids, I couldn't do it. If I dated a Cambodian chick and she had Cambodian, I couldn't do it.
no, even for me, if I dated a if say I dated a so-called black woman, but she had a mixed kid, I couldn't do it.
Right, right. The kid's got to at least look like he could be
Right?
mine.
Or yeah, and why is that? No, that's
I don't know, bro. The only reason I think it
it's got to be some form of
I
insecurity with
I
that,
think
right?
it's a relatability, right? Like, so because here's why. I'm gonna tell you
Yeah, yeah. I
my.
got okay. Yep.
So I got a homie, and he's no longer in this situation. But I told him at one point, I'm like, bro, listen, I'm gonna respect your choice of who you date, but you cannot put me and her in the same room because I have my rules on what's acceptable to me and what isn't, right? And I was on him hard, bro. Uh, I laid out a scenario without putting no names out. My guy was dating a white chick, and I'm, again, I don't care who you date, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm like, bro, I see you a lot, but I've only met her once. Like, we cool. What's the scenario? Oh man, when she get drunk, you know what I'm saying? She a different person. Okay, now you got to give me more information, right? Well, long story short, she got drunk one time and said some shit to him and hit him with the hard R.
Okay. All right.
And I told him, I said, bro, I said, first off, I don't even know why I fuck with you out of love, but I'm gonna destroy you every time we talk because you dealing with this.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I said, ain't no way your mama know this. Oh,
That's
I didn't tell you. If I
crazy.
said something to my mama, she'd smack her every time I said, and rightfully
Right.
so.
Right.
Um, and
But she
that one
should
I was
smack him though.
man,
He's the
100%. And
problem.
I said, bro, listen, you I don't even my wife was like, I don't know how you deal with a woman like that. Like the words come out of her mouth, you can't she anyway. Well, the crazy part is her she had boys, sons, older sons. I don't know if they were 16, 17, 20. I don't know the age, but they were 16 or older. He got into it, one of them hit him with the same shit. right? I'm like, bro, that's a grown man or damn near a grown man. He that come out somebody's mouth, and I'm funding anything for you. You probably gonna receive something, and it ain't gonna be a UPS package, but it will be brown.
Man,
You know what
facts.
I'm saying? Like I'm that's so when I look at it, that one for me is like I
But
don't know enough about how those kids were raised that I feel like, and this is an insecurity. I will say it. It's an insecurity. I feel like they're going to use a racial slur when some shit go wrong. When I try to exert dominance or their discipline, whatever the case is, or they might even hit me with "you not my daddy," whatever, right? And that's
yeah,
unacceptable for me.
but so once again, so that you understand, that's literally my reason for my position is that I don't want to. You can call it an insecurity or whatever, but I'm saying it's going to be a disconnect one way or another that I just personally don't feel like dealing with.
Right,
But you know what? In all fairness, it's likely because I already have to deal with enough dealing with my own culture. You know what I'm saying?
hundred
Like it's
percent.
already the trauma and all I got to deal with. So that's just a. I have the experience in that. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
I like I don't really feel like having to. That to me is just creating a problem where there's no problem. Um,
because you got enough problems in a relationship to add something extra is it don't make a
because
lot of
I
sense.
understand. That's why I understand cultural preservation. I understand why cultures move the way they do it to preserve their cultures, right? And I get it. I don't think we just like to reduce it to a race thing, but it's not a race thing. Race just happens to be the physical component that often reflects or represents culture, right? A
It's
difference
easy
in
to
culture.
separate people by it.
Yeah, but it's not. Like I said, when I when I start traveling, to different places where people who look like me were, they are totally different. Like you can go to the Caribbean, you would think they disrespecting you, but they just aggressive like that. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Like a Caribbean women will flirt with your man,
right in
but
front of you.
right, but they it's not personal. It's just
They do
how
that.
they move.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? And if you a woman that's not secure in your situation, or depending on what culture you coming from, you're gonna find I seen the men do it. You know what I mean? Literally tell her I had a Caribbean dude tell her I didn't know that hey they
That's how I talk to everybody.
they like bigger women too, right? They really like them.
Oh yeah, yeah, they fucking with
My
them.
guy he's actually from Africa, right? So but we in the Bahamas. I mean Caribbean dude telling him like, hey, this show. I'm thinking like he just really on my homegirl. She a bigger woman, and he like man this your wife. Like, yeah, he was like, man, you can't handle that. You know what I mean? He just talking to him like I'm just like, damn. But if you watch how they move, though, he wasn't disrespect. He just that's just how they, it's that's just how they sell themselves in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like for me, it's really not racial. It's just more of like a cultural thing. It depends on where your comfortability level is.
Right. Hey, so Lex, I know you watching. If you want to jump in, hit me because I want you to explain that one. You said the most racist relationship you were in was with a black dude in his 30s. So if you got availability, hit my
Racist.
line or
Okay, that's
something,
interesting. That's
or jump in
interesting.
because I need more details on that one. Right. Uh, and you can jump in with audio only if you don't want to be on cam. I ain't gonna force you on it. So you just let me know. I'm just gonna check, make sure she ain't in the inbox asking right now. So, but it's yeah, different cultures of people who look the same are different. I mean, it is. You can take two people of a similar hue, so-called black folks. I like to use that. You take somebody from South Bend, you put them in New York, they don't vibe,
Very different. Very
right?
different.
You take somebody from New York, put them in Chicago, they don't vibe, right? You can go further out west or down south, whatever. It's just
Yeah.
it's a different
New York chicks too aggressive for me.
man, bro. It's no matter how beautiful they are when they start talking. I'm like,
It's too
me and
aggressive.
you can shoot ball together, right? Like
Man,
that's
like,
I
and that's
don't
who they are.
right.
Some Chicago chicks too. Some of them is,
I think that's more
just a
trauma
little,
though. You know
yeah.
what I'm
But I'm
saying?
saying it just be too much.
Right.
That's what I mean by that's what I'm saying. Like it's the level of trauma is its own culture as well. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can easily meet a woman that's from deep south, right? And just because if she's embedded in those more traditional ways, we may not vibe because that's where she's going to stay. We
Right.
think
Right.
differently up here. You know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah.
saying I'm in Indianapolis. I could never rock with Indianapolis chicks for what you know what I mean. And like I'm dead serious. Like I'm saying it's the ones I dated. And I'm not saying there's none that's not
Right.
anywhere that's dope.
Right. I'm with you.
I'm saying that like just. the ones that I attracted when I was, roaming around, it just was like, yeah, that's just we move differently, and vice versa. They just were used to a certain type of cat that's what they, and it just wasn't me. You know what I mean, personality wise.
I think we know who we attract, right? We know who we're attracted to. We know how to get the people we want, right? I was talking to my homie, and we was having a discussion about something, and he said, I can't remember how the words go. He was like, "Bro, if you went into this place, the chicks wouldn't even look at you." I said, "Bro, you're probably right." And the chicks in there, I won't looking at me. I said, one thing I know, like I go in, I dress a certain way, right? And I don't dress in name brand shit, but I'm a dress shoes dude. I'm gonna do jeans, dress shoes, and I don't care if I'm wearing a t-shirt, a polo. It's gonna be some dress shoes on me. And that's gonna weed out a certain type of person, right? If I was in the market, you know what I'm saying? It's a chick look at my shoes like he ain't wearing no J's, he ain't wearing nothing name brand. He ain't for me, and that's great because she probably wouldn't be for me either,
Right,
right?
right.
And I was telling my guy, I said, bro, if I took you where I go, none of the chicks will fuck with you. And it's not a knock on you. They're gonna look at how you dress and take a stab at you and say, this is, he's wearing tennis shoes no matter how nice. In this environment, you probably don't have the type of job they look for.
Yeah,
That's how they're gonna judge you. That doesn't mean because he has that job, right? He has that good job where you're a professional, you got a good job, that shit, this, that, and the other, but you gonna get sized up quick. I said we carry ourselves in a way that I think that appeals to the people we want to appeal to, right? Back in the day, I wore all kind of different shit. You ain't. I'm old school now, right? You give me a pair of jeans and a nice shirt. That's how I'm rocking. Unless I gotta get dressed up for an event.
yeah,
Um, Easter come, I'm not getting, man. 15 years ago, I was in a fly colored suit or something on Easter. You know what I'm saying? Getting
yeah,
dressed up and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and, and out, but I'm going where everybody else is like that too. Them days for me is
yeah,
long gone. You know what I'm saying? Them days are long gone for me. Um, Lexi says she's trying to get the baby sleep, but whoever the dude was always talking shit about interracial everything, always trying to down her. Uh, I think bro was just
he had some trauma.
right. He was trying to separate you from everybody you know, so he could control you.
Yeah, he
That
had
was
some
that was
trauma.
a good getaway on that one. Yeah, that's crazy because you know again, obviously there's a lot of racial shit in this country, um, but from my perspective, we don't talk about race on a day to day. You know what's crazy? I remember my brother saying something to one of my kids, I think it was my son when he was young, about being mixed. And my son was like, "What you mean?" Like he never even looked at race that way, right? Because he was raised around, like race wasn't a discussion we had when he was. I don't talk. He was younger, 6, 7, 8, some shit like that. It wasn't a discussion we had because the things that were going to impact him from a race perspective, I had to cover. Right? He was
Yeah,
young. He just saw his mom and his dad. He saw his grandmother on my wife's side. He saw my brothers, and everybody was just people. And I
yeah,
realized, bro, we teach this race shit,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
right?
that's
Because we don't
it's a construct for sure.
we don't have to have it to have a culture, right? When I have friends of Islamic faith and mm, and Christian faith as well, right? And if I go to a church, now I can go to all black church or a white church, but if I just hit a church, I'm gonna see a whole bunch of people, Mexican, black, white, all these different people who are of the same, uh, you know, the same religious faith but different nationalities, right? You don't have to have race. Nationality is important, right? When you go, like for me, when I spend a lot of time in Europe, right? People don't say, "Are you black? Are you white?" It's like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah,
Right? So you're an American, right? And like I had to
but
leave
they
United
they have
States.
biases too.
But they do, right? So crazy one,
America, I
right?
mean, American, like country, like as far as country, like when you say you're American, then that same, it's like race, but it's not. It's based on nationality. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying?
right, and I'm okay with that, right? You ain't looking at my skin color, you're looking at where I come from and the shit we done did, right? But
Well, shit, I'd rather you look at my skin color if you going before you look at me as American.
hey,
If
listen,
you look at
but
it,
I'm gonna change your mind about me because you gonna learn, you gonna look at me because you got to form an opinion from the start. I'm okay with that. When I meet
yeah,
somebody,
yeah, I'm just saying
I'm
America be
judging.
on bullshit.
We do,
Americans be on bullshit
we
sometimes.
do. So that's one of the interesting things about I've traveled all around the world. I meet different people, and initially they're reserved, right? I had a dude tell me nobody dislikes America for your freedom. We dislike America because y'all bring that shit here, right? We're perfectly fine until y'all show up,
Yeah,
right? So I understand that. I remember traveling to I think it was I don't know if it was South Korea or India. They were like, man, listen, don't wear American flag anything when you like I ain't never wearing that shit anyway. right? So you ain't got to worry about me. When I started landing in India, it was like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "Africa," right? That's what I started saying because I didn't know what there was an issue with America, right? I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah.
fuck it." But there are differences, right, and cultural differences. So you can have people of Islamic faith that look totally different. I've met people from Middle East. I met people that are Islamic from Africa. I've met people from that are Islamic from Bosnia, white Muslims, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't, but they all pray together, right? So the construct of race is really just to divide us, right?
Yeah, like as any construct. That's why I'm saying that I don't have a problem with dating across cultures. It just becomes problematic because people like to prioritize that or try to confuse that with the union that we're building. I don't
Right.
believe in any of that. Like I think it's like we damn near start with a clean slate if we gonna do that if this is gonna be successful.
I mean,
Because like you said, when you have your children with then and they be so called mixed race, that shit don't occur to them. They actually have a better chance than all of us until society ruins it for them. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Like
right.
that's just because it can't be a factor. Like you can't. Well, you know what? I ain't gonna even say you can't because I have mixed race siblings that fell into that trap for whatever reason. Like so we don't rock with each other, and it has to do with the
That's a
racial
taught.
component.
That's a taught behavior,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
you know what I mean. But it was like it wasn't always like that. You know what I
No,
mean?
right. Hate is taught. We don't naturally dislike anybody, right? Especially based on some shit we don't know, right? You're essentially when you're young, you're friends with people. The people I know who, so I've met some people who were racist and changed, right? And I'm like, give me the information, right? You didn't like people who look like this because what, right? Well, my
Because
parents told me
we
not to,
already know why though.
right? My
Yeah,
parents told me not to. My grandfather told me not to. And I'm like, yeah, but what, you know, you didn't listen to everything your fucking parents said. What drove you? That it was just unacceptable, right? And I think a lot of kids learn that you couldn't do certain shit by bringing kids of a different race to the house,
yeah. It's a
right?
fear based tactic for sure.
100%. It's fear based, right?
It's basically saying that yeah, I believe they're threatened. If you do this, then you'll be disowned to a certain extent. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's just fear, and but then if you all you got to use is all you got to do is use the media. You can use the media. You can show them whatever version of a person that of a people
Mhm.
that you want to the worst version of those people, and then it becomes a reality for them. So it's
I
easy to
think
do.
Africa is that way, right? A lot of people think of Africa and they think dirt huts. There's beautiful parts of Africa, right? Beautiful, flourishing cities. But
Yeah,
if you don't do your own research, you ain't gonna see it.
yeah.
Let me see
Well,
what Lexi said here real quick. When you raised with two races in your home, you don't look at race. I didn't notice race until high school. My friends pointed out. That's kind of what we were just saying, right?
yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I was low key pissed at my brother for that one because I'm like, bro, that's not even something we do in my house, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, that conversation is happening, right? But it isn't something we do because I want kids to be kids and love life and have fun as long as possible.
Yeah, because once
Because
you open their eyes to that, then they never close them.
there, right, there's nothing good about saying we're different races. Let's be real, because
Yeah,
that creates problems. There's beautiful things to saying this person's of a different nationality, different culture.
yeah,
You can integrate and learn and learn a little bit from this and pick and whatever you need to do to make it better. But when we start putting the race into play, shit goes wrong because we don't do it in a positive way, right? Like we were talking last week, right, or earlier this week, whatever. Dudes was tripping on the Caitlyn chick, right? When they beat LSU, I saw shit from black folks. I was like, man, this is crazy. Now they lost tonight. I ain't seen shit. Not one Caitlyn, nothing. Not
because
one
they used the Caitlyn and the Angel Reese, and they
right to
just
beef.
used and and they definitely made it racial. It was
Mhm.
clear, and that's just what we do as a country. That's why
Because
I say I don't really America be on bullshit in that way because you just ruin everything. You know what I mean? Like,
bro, the very first thing I do with any of my homies who have never left the United States, I'm like, bro, get your passport. Let's ride. We go to Toronto, about 6.5 hour drive from here, and I've taken probably 5, 6 homies, bro. I'm like, this is what the United States was supposed to be, right? One of my homies, Brandon, bro, 6'4", 200 some odd pounds, big muscular cat, right? I'm like, he's like, man. So I took him with me I had a business trip up there. I'm like, but I tell all my guys, so I drive anytime I had to do business in Toronto. I just like to drive. So I tell my guys, you can ride with me. You know what I'm saying? I always get either Airbnb with multiple rooms, or get a hotel with multiple rooms, whatever. So you good. You just got to show up, right? You got to have all your shit. And when I ain't with you, you got to go feed yourself and shit. But from a business perspective, I get, I got meals and everything else because the shit's included. So anyway, I take all my guys. My homie one night, he's like, man, he hit me. He's like, bro, I'm walking around the street 2:30 in the morning with my hood on as a big black dude, and the police ain't saying shit to me. I'm like, bro, they're not gonna fuck with you, right? Because you have to do something wrong. Another night, same trip, my homie Brandon, one of my guys, Moses, right? We all three decent sized brothers, right? They're both on their first trip. I'm like, bro, I'm finna fuck you up. So we walking, we left a bar, some all the bars there closed like 2 o'clock. This white chick walking by. Now it's 2 in the morning, three big brothers, white chick walking our direction. You know, in America, somebody crossing the street, right? Or reaching in the purse, whatever the case may be. So we walk in and I stopped the chick. I'm like, excuse me, we just left such and such bar. Me and my buddies, we're just trying to find a decent place to eat, right? What's open that you can tell us about? She's like, well, this place over here's pretty. Matter of fact, I'll just walk with you guys. Let's go, right? I'm like, that shit would never happen in the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
Um, it's a different world, and there's nothing physically dividing us, bro. It's the government and how shit's looked at,
Yeah,
right?
because it's like even in the crime, like it's media based. Like if it's like the whole concept of black on black crime, or you know what I mean? Like it's just like you make everything about race. Crime is about proximity. You know what I mean? It's more about
100%.
proximity than anything. So it's like this people don't generally, if you're talking about a woman that was raped, they really weren't ain't didn't rape. It wasn't based on race. It was based
Right.
on
Somebody had
the
access to her.
opportunity, right? Like it's
Right.
not, now I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm saying that generally that's not the case. But in the media, that's what it's going to be. Like you don't have to say black man rapes white woman. A woman was raped. That's really what happened. Like that's the part, like because it
Right.
doesn't
That's the
matter.
problem.
Yeah, it doesn't. Just like you don't have to. Like I said, I had to catch myself and realize like it was. I'm not going to, if I see a little white kid do something to my daughter, I'm not going to have the conversation about race with her because it don't matter what race she is. She
Right.
disrespected you or he disrespected you.
Right.
This is how you handle disrespect.
Doesn't matter
You
where
know
it
what I
come
mean?
from.
Even if because I don't even if it was obvious to me that person did try something, do that based on race or whatnot. But that's their problem. I'm not
Right.
going to make it my problem. But I'm not, and I'm not oblivious to that construct. But I'm saying I'm not going to be complicit in
Right. Because
that
the
vice
response
with
needs
my
to be the
own
same
kid.
regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
matter. Like I don't, what I'm saying, like, don't get angry because it's a white person. If you're gonna get angry because a person disrespected you. I don't give a
Right.
fuck who it is. You know what I
No, I'm with
mean?
you on
Like,
that one. Right. Right. No, I'm with you on that one. That's a good way to look at it. And I think not enough of us look at the situation from a standpoint of purely just the situation. Let's take the components out, right? A legal alien did this or that. Like somebody did something to somebody, right?
right,
That's the issue.
right,
The where this person is from makes other people mad, but it doesn't change what happened, right? Because if the same shit would have happened with somebody who was born here or somebody looked the same, that person that got that victim or whatever that situation is going to feel exactly the same. Now, you might feel a little worse if it's race based or something like that, and you're aware of it. But nonetheless, if somebody hit you in the goddamn face, right, your pain is from the hit in the face, not
man.
because a white man or a black man or a Mexican man hit you in the face.
Yeah, and it's like I don't give a damn if he was throwing racial slurs while he was doing it. Is it
Right,
because the outcome is gonna be different. If you were just throwing racial slurs, then that's your freedom of speech. You can say what you want, right? But if you was throwing racial slurs and you put your hands on me, then I'm gonna fuck you up. But if you
right,
were
right.
if you were if you were a mute and you did it, I'm gonna
I'm
fuck
still
you
gonna
up.
fuck you up.
If you look like me and did it, I'm gonna fuck you up. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have the
Yeah.
same reaction just because you disrespected me or you assaulted me. That part, the other shit don't matter to me.
I think you have reached a level most people are not at, and it took me a very long time to get to where you're at, and I can't even say I'm at the same exact level, right? Because I found myself just a couple of years ago stopping situations purely based on race, right? I remember seeing some brothers arguing like they finna get into it. I'm like, man, listen, we have enough problems as black men. Y'all shouldn't be beefing, blah blah blah. But in reality, you shouldn't be beefing. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really shouldn't be beefing, period, because you grown motherfuckers with shit to lose. Um, it took for my brother, Jay Adonis, to tell me, he said, man, you got to stop getting in between people. Somebody going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? And, trying to save brothers based simply on the fact that they brothers. Um, I think that's wrong. Hold on, let me see. Somebody just said, Miss Lady, so true. I just spoke on this tonight. As far as an illegal, a term I cannot stand. The disrespect, crime was done. Shit, color status don't matter. I'm with that. I hate the
Facts.
illegal shit too,
Facts.
right? Because when somebody says it's illegal alien, I'm like, how far back do we go, right? Because I'm sure some Native Americans are like, if
Man,
we kicking out illegals,
man? Ain't
right?
that crazy?
Like, if
Ain't
we
that
kicking out
crazy?
illegals, right? Listen, we need a border. I don't know. I don't speak fluent Spanish, but Los Angeles sound Spanish to me. New Mexico sound like it used to be regular Mexico.
No,
Arizona sounds, you know
it
what I'm
was.
saying?
No, it was. That's what I'm
Right. I'm just
saying.
saying, like, if we,
That's what I'm saying.
I don't, I
So,
don't, I don't subscribe. Me and one of my guys went round and round about so-called illegal immigrants. He's mad because the government's giving them money, we wouldn't give it to black folks. I said, bro, do you realize that's the crab in a barrel mentality? You are mad at the person receiving benefits that you didn't get instead of the person giving the benefits that wouldn't give them to you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, you
like,
know what though? I realize now more than ever that those benefits that we like to complain culturally that were not given to us, they were given to other people. It wasn't that they wasn't available to us.
we didn't take it. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Bless you. You all good. No, so I had
Um,
some African homies, bro, and one of my guys like, man, I don't really fuck with the Africans. Do they come over and act like they better than us? I'm like, well, I don't get that feeling, right? But I'm gonna talk to my homies because that's how I'm at with all my people, right? So I'm like, man, what's the issue y'all have with Black Americans? One of my guys said, man, y'all have all these opportunities and you don't take none of them. And I sat back and I look and I'm like, there's some opportunities that we aren't taking advantage of. There are grants for us. There are loans for us. You know, I'm like, he's got a point. A lot of us don't take advantage of the situation, right? I looked at the new business data over the course of the last few years, and I mean, we're a small percentage of folks creating new businesses. I told all my guys, I'm like, bro, it costs less than $200 to start a business, right? That's legal paperwork and all that shit, right? You obviously got whatever your business is, you got to invest in this and the other. But I'm like, to start a new business, right, will cost you less than $200. And some of the benefits of that shit is outrageous. But there are things that are, whether we agree with it or like it or not, there are things that are added for us specifically as black people that a lot of us don't take advantage of.
yeah, I think that it's one thing to start a business, but if you starting a business as a victim already, then you're not gonna have success. I'm not once again I'm not oblivious to the racial constructs that exist, in America. But what I'm saying is that I can honestly say at this point in my life, like those things have become irrelevant. A lot of those things have become irrelevant to me because I move on my own frequency. The time I spent immersed in that construct, it was the most depressing time of my life because I was angry a lot of times, and
100%.
you become a victim, and it's like, man, like the fact of the matter is I've had negative experiences with a lot of people. I've had positive experiences with a lot of people, and none of it is confined by race. You know what I mean? That's that
Right.
idea. Now, have I had, experiences with so-called white people that were racially based? Yeah, absolutely. But sometimes I just assumed it. You know what I mean? But
Right. Niggas just been an asshole.
I've had a lot of negative experiences with people who look like me too. You know what I mean? And that does that supposed to make me? That's not going to make me say, man, fuck all niggas. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to make me say that, right?
Right.
So I mean, in all fairness, I wouldn't did I wouldn't do that with any entire group of people because it would be contradictory to my whole position. If that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
So
So
you touched on a good point, right? I don't know if you caught this or not. There was a school in St. Louis. Sexy Red was supposed to go, right? You know, Sexy Red, crazy. My
oh
my
my
booty hole
God.
pink or whatever fuck she said. My pussy
Can't
pink and booty
stand
hole
her.
brown.
Can't stand
Worst. I think that's some of the worst shit that ever happened to us because
her.
people are
Man.
promoting it. She wanted to go to a school in St. Louis, a high school. They didn't have a problem with her music. She smelled like weed when she showed up. That's why they didn't let her fuck with it, right? And so I was having this conversation, and this chick was like, "I support her because she's a black woman." I'm like, "Hold on, right?" I'm like, "Do you support everybody based on skin?" Because I'm like, I don't support King Von. Bro was a killer, right? Let's just keep it real. He was killing black folks left and right. Um, I ain't gonna support you just because we look the same.
at
But
all.
she was adamant. She's like, I support anybody that looks like me. I'm like, that's crazy.
You're right. So that's
I'm like,
so. Remember when I just said that when you start businesses and we start them as victims, how many times do we? A lot of us start. A lot of people who look like us start businesses, and then we go up under the moniker of like black owned. Like that's so basically you're leveraging victimhood to solicit support for your business. Like that's not race and business don't even go together. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like
money
now,
green.
if you want to improve your culture from an economic standpoint, then you practice group economics, right? But that's what a lot of the Hispanics do when they migrate to different areas and build economically. They're practicing group economics.
100%. I don't know why
You know
people
what
don't
I'm saying?
understand that, right?
Like we can do that easy, but I'm saying that your business being if you have a terrible product or a product I don't need or you have terrible service in this but you just happen to look like me and
That's not.
this business over here has everything I want, everything I need in a healthy experience, then where do you think I'm spending my money at?
No, I'm with you on that, man. And speaking on the Hispanic culture, like I got mad respect for that, right? Because they build and share within the family, within the
Yeah.
culture,
Then
right? And
African cultures do it too
yeah,
when they
every
come in.
culture but us,
That's what
right?
I'm saying. So I mean, like we can't. I just think it's a lot of more accountability that needs to be shared
No doubt.
in that conversation. Um,
We
I
we
just,
I think
yeah,
I don't know when we talked about it before briefly. I met with the city attorney in South Bend, Indiana, right? Back just some years ago when I ran a different business, and talked about why there isn't things for the so-called black folks when Hispanics just getting this, that, and the other. And bro kept it real. He said, "Man, the we had a program for black folks, uh, but the businesses they brought to the city, it was the wrong people bringing the wrong businesses. You know, barbershops, lawns, shit that you couldn't promote outside of the community, right? And what I mean by that, I'm not saying lawn services like I'm talking cats cutting grass. Those are the people come to the city like you got three lawnmowers, bro. You can't do the city's maintenance. Um, and so what happened is they had a lot of money for black businesses set aside that they didn't distribute. And of course, you know how politics go. When somebody got a run, they talk about how they didn't invest that money. But there was not the equivalent. Like the Hispanics, they come in, they build the grocery stores, they build the you know what I'm saying, the ice cream stores, the clothing stores, all in the community. And it the government can get behind that. That's legitimate shit. It's not just for them, but it is really. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, it's not. It's for them, but it's not
not-
exclusive to
it's not
them.
exclusive to
A
them.
lot of times we create these, products and or businesses that are really exclusive to us. You know what
100%.
I mean? And that's what I'm saying. But when you say black owned, I mean, if a business says we are white owned or we are Hispanic owned or we are African owned, and you're telling me it's not for me. That's what you're telling me. That's
Right.
how I
Yeah, I
hear
shouldn't
that.
be here. You got a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, just tell me what you offer, even if it is from this culture. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah.
for everybody. That's why we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem going to soul food restaurants. We don't have a problem going to
Right.
so-called Mexican restaurants or whatever because we understand that it's they
The
and
product
if
is culture based,
yeah. And
but
if I'm going
everybody's
to an
welcome.
Indian restaurant, I see a lot of Indians, right? You know what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying? But they serve me the same food.
Right.
And they give me the same service. If they do not, I won't be back.
Right. It's
You
common
know what I'm
sense.
saying? But I just think that we just approach this thing very like just as victims, and we need to really come up out of that. You know what I mean? I think that's why we can't date healthily, we
We do
can't build
struggle.
healthily.
We have to. This don't sound fucked up, but I feel like a lot of us feel like we have to. There's a competition of who had it worse, right? Like oh your shit was fucked up, but my shit was more fucked up. Like we want to. I think we want to be victims still, right?
I
And
think it's comfort in victimhood.
it is just everybody people can coincide with that. People can make people feel better about it, right? I have a belief, and up until probably last 5 years, it seemed like a normal belief, and people used to be in agreement with me. If you can do it, I can do it too. That shit has turned around to oh man, just because somebody else can do it, I mean I can do it. Like where did that shit come from, right? Like, I don't feel like I'm. And we had this discussion. I'm not better than other people. Maybe I'm special in certain aspects, right? I do certain things differently or better,
Or fortunate.
more fortunate. but I don't see anybody doing something that I'm incapable of doing, short of a physical limitation, right? I ain't dunking the basketball, right? I'm not going to the NFL. I have some physical limitations. My window was missed, right? There's probably a point in my life I'm like, if I really try hard enough, I think I can make it, even though I probably wouldn't. Um, but regular shit that requires my mind to do, if you can do it, I can do it, right? But I've said that to people like, oh man, that's not a fair assessment. You don't know what so and so been through. Like, bro, the shit's out there. We all have 24 hours, right? We have access to the similar resources, not necessarily the same resources, but similar resources. The internet's for
But
everybody,
everybody's path not is not supposed to look the same. You
no
know what I
doubt.
mean? That's the reality of it. So what I think what you're saying is that, our paths to this, if we call in this goal, like the goal of success, our paths here may look different, and they may be a little bit more, difficult for, for us as different people because of where we're coming from or what our skill set is or whatnot, but it's still achievable. And
Right.
there's a difference between equality and fairness. You know what I mean? We are all not equal, but we all have a fair shot at achieving
A
what we
hundred
want
percent.
to achieve. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have a different set of circumstances, yeah. And that
Right. My
makes
route
that
to
may
the
seem unfair,
destination is
but
different.
it's just, yeah, but it's not that it's unfair, it's just not equal. And that's just not life how life
That's
is set
reality.
up. You know what I mean? We are different heights. Like
Right.
if we want to go to the gym, we want to achieve the same look. You know what I mean? But if you 30 pounds heavier than me, well, then it's gonna take you a little bit more work,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? And that ain't we can like I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Right. That's
No. So
that's
I
a
don't need you in the
personal issue.
gym telling me like, oh, it's easy for you. You already did
But
what?
I mean and that's the crazy part, right? Like we do that crazy shit. I had a so I told one of my homies, I'm like, he's like, oh man, it's not the same for everybody. You're not a heart surgeon. I said, do you know why I'm not a heart surgeon? Because I don't want to do what it takes to be a fucking heart surgeon.
Right,
I
right.
have the opportunity to go to school, learn that shit, and take those classes. Granted, I got to
Yes.
retain the information
And I can
to be
do
able to
it.
pass the test. I can
But
do
it
it.
can be
I
done.
don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That
It
is
can
why
be
I'm not a
done.
heart surgeon. That is
It can
why
be
I'm not
done.
an attorney. I
Yep.
have the capability. I actively choose not to do the shit. That's more work than I'm willing to put in for the
Man,
desired
how
result.
many times have you? I still do it in my day to day life. Have conversations with people about what I do versus what they do, and we always share the same thing. When they tell me what they do, I'm just like, man, that's crazy. I was like, it's like it just seems so difficult to me. But if I tell them what I do, and it's easy to me, but they like, yeah, I couldn't do that, right? Yeah, you don't want to do it, and I don't want to do
I
what you
mean,
do, right? But
that's reality.
that is the beautiful part about life. Like we are born with different gifts, different interests, different sets of skills or whatnot. But the reality is, the fact is, if you wanted to do it, you could do it. And if I wanted to do what you do, I could do it.
You got to put in the work. It's probably going to be more work for you than it is for somebody else to do the same thing, right? Y'all different. You got
But
to do the
that's
work,
the journey though. That's
right?
part of it.
And that's I think that's one of the things we lack today specifically is the ability or the no the desire, right? We want so much, and I say we, I mean people as Americans as a society. We
Yeah.
want a lot of shit handed to us. So one of the comments was regarding the Hispanic people and how they work their asses off, right? And that it's because a lot of them weren't raised in an environment where if you didn't work your ass off, you still was okay. You might not have had the best shit, but in the USA, if you decide you don't fucking want to work, you're gonna have
Y-
a house,
Yeah.
you gonna have food, right?
Yep.
You're gonna have heat, you're gonna have gas, you're gonna have water. And I don't want to take that from nobody. But I'm just saying the reality of what we have says if you don't try at all, we still got you, right? And that leads to a lot of people not trying or not having a desire to have more.
But that's what I think, that's agenda based. That is in the DNA of what most people that look like us, how they view their democracy. When you vote like in a democratic vein, like that's literally in the DNA, in the fabric of what that represents. Because if you look historically, that's what we've been like, welfare was weaponized for sure.
But we still had to choose it, right? And
That's
that's where
what
I
right. That's
struggle.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm saying that that's that's what I think when a statement, is slavery a choice? Was, you know what I mean? Because you look at physical slavery, but that's still, it starts in the mind. You have to believe you're a slave. So even now, we just don't believe that we're slaves, but a lot of us are slaves to a lot of different things, whether it's social media,
Yes,
whether it's
sir.
being a slave to victimhood, a slave to relationships, you know what I mean? Like we just don't, you can live, like you were just saying, you can live comfortable as a slave today.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Real shit. Like it's crazy when you think about it, right? Bro, this is a little off topic, but I remember a chick we knew got kicked out of her fucking apartment. She was on Section 8, bro. And she was 3 months behind on her rent. Her rent was $8 a month, right? And I'm just like,
How
God
does that
damn.
happen? How does that
Right.
happen
You could
unless
have
you are
slid through
the
with
most?
$96 and cashed a year out, right? And I'm just like, how did that shit would never happen to somebody who came from another country, bro. If you give somebody who came from another country to the US $10 a month for rent, they ain't gonna never be behind.
But you guess, look. You don't even when you compare the concept of citizenship, right? What it takes to be a citizen in America, that compare that to what it would take for us. A lot of people here just get your passport and you can travel across the world anywhere you want to go. It's that's just we. A lot of us are just too entitled to do that.
We are the least traveling people in the fucking world. It's funny because again, having a lot of friends from all over the place, they got jokes, right? Like, what do you call a person that speaks two languages? Bilingual. What do call a person that speaks three languages? Trilingual. What do you call a person that speaks one? American, right? Like that's their shit, right? Because we want everybody to speak what we speak, not realizing we actually set ourselves behind by doing that, right?
I think America, overall thrives off of division. So
100%,
it's not being cultured is not promoted, right?
hundred
It's
percent.
you gotta be it's gotta be divisive, you
I mean,
know.
that's I don't disagree with you, right? That's the reality of shit. Uh, Listen, as always, I greatly appreciate it. I know we bumped up against the time here because we got to keep it a little bit short tonight. But let's definitely, hey, if y'all checking us out, we're gonna be on Wednesday at about 9:15, 9:30 live. Check us out. I think we're gonna do the other topic that we
Okay.
talked about.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but no, like I said, I greatly appreciate it, man. Just to wrap it up, I've been spending a lot of time with my grandson and his mom and his dad in the hospital. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm a little beat. We got up this
Man.
morning. We left there pretty late last night. Got up this morning. Had to get right back there. That's some
Yeah.
beautiful shit. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, let's wrap, bro. I appreciate your time. Definitely.
Absolutely, bro.